Hello, hello again.
Hi.
Welcome to another episode of Life Unstifled. I'm super excited today to have my guest, Tana Pawson, now. And Tana and I go back a little bit. We don't know each other very, very well, but we crossed paths at working for the same fitness company a few years back. I actually knew her husband before her and they recently got married. So cute. And I'm sure that's a part of her story that she's going to share today. But really excited, Tana, to have you on. Thank you so much for really coming on here and sharing your story with the audience today because I think it's a heavy one and it's a powerful one. And I just want to applaud you beforehand on the courage to come on here and really talk to everyone just about how you got to where you are today. So let's start out. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and kind of where your story began.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. I was born to two very characteristic individuals. And I have gone through some trials and tribulations since then. So it's been a wild ride, really.
Yeah. So you say characteristic individuals, and this is really your story starts the minute you were born.
Oh, for sure.
Yes. So let's kind of dive in. What does that mean, characteristic individuals?
So I was born to a narcissistic psychopath. And then my biological father was not in the picture, so he essentially told this other man, "Hey, you're the better man. Deal with it yourself. Figure it out." So, he did. That's the
Wow.
man I call my dad today. So he was there the day I was born, and he has really fought valiantly to be there every day since.
Now, did you have any siblings? Did you
Sure.
yeah, yeah, where
Buckets of them.
buckets of them. Let's do
Yes.
tell.
Yes. So, there I should have drawn a family tree for this because every time I explain this to people, people just do not can't
You
grasp
need like
it.
a whiteboard.
Yes. Like, start drawing it up. So my dad was married to my bio mom, and I don't call her my mom, so it might get a little confusing when I start talking about my mom, but I just refer to her as Tara. So they were married. He met my sister, who is 2 years older than me, through his sister who babysat for my own bio mom. He fell in love with Tara, fell in love with my older sister, and then they got married. Then he was there for the day that I was born. Then comes my younger sibling, Hunter. They are 2 years younger than me, so they have been a part of all of this fun transition too. So, I actually have 7 siblings,
Oh my goodness.
and we're like a mixed blend of adopted and step or whatever you wanna call it, half siblings.
Yes.
So there's 8 of us total.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What a riot on family
Yes,
occasions if you all get together.
it is
um
chaos.
so walk me through what it was like growing up.
Okay, so that's a double-edged sword. So there was my sister, my younger sibling, and I in our own little pod. Because after my dad, Patrick, and Tara got divorced, she split us all up.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of, like, neglect and abuse that was happening in the point of just CPS got involved. There was some crazy stuff that was going on. My mom has told me stories about, like, her coming to get us or something of that nature, and there were, like, ants everywhere, and we were
Oh,
sleeping in clothes that we should not have been sleeping in, or we hadn't had
wow.
baths in days, and there was, like, no food on the table, we weren't eating, so there was a lot there, and then they
So can I
during the
ask a
divorce.
question?
Yeah,
Do
absolutely.
you so your mom got divorced. So I'm trying to walk through the imaginary
Yep.
whiteboard right now. So your your mom got divorced and the kids kind of split. So when you said she would pick you up, did she have custody or was it
So
shared
that
custody?
was my stepmom, Robin. that was the one who was introduced into the picture with my dad, Patrick. So that's my mom.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
Whenever she saw all of that, that was whenever they were split and not fully divorced yet, I believe. Um,
Okay.
and I think I was 4 maybe at this point, so very young. I don't remember, to be completely honest, a lot of my childhood,
Yeah.
which thank God.
Yeah.
But she came in the picture. She was trying to get him to where he could understand, like, this is not acceptable, and they split. So in the
Gotcha.
divorce, they had my sister, myself, and my younger sibling, Hunter, on all of the paperwork because Hunter is his child, Patrick's.
Okay. Okay.
So when they got to the courts, they took a black Sharpie and took mine and my sister's name and just X'd everything out because he wasn't our father. And we both have separate fathers as well, so I don't have the same 2 parents as any of my
As
siblings.
any of them. Got it. Now, Patrick, though, is who you call your dad,
Yes. Yeah.
correct? And
Yeah.
so, had he bona fide adopted you at this point?
No.
So that's why
Comes
the
about
courts
years
split it
later.
off.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, were you placed with your biological mom?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So
And that's what you were saying when they would pick you up from your biological mom's. It was
yes.
horrendous conditions.
Yeah. So there were a few times that they allowed us to go and see them. Tara would allow me to go see them.
Mhm.
But after she met one of her husbands, that stopped immediately. So we ended up moving to Odessa, Texas. And we
Oh,
lived with him for, I believe, 3 to 4 years. And he was extremely physically abusive to all of us. So, um,
your biological mom's step or
yes, yes, her
husband.
husband. So there's this like running joke in our family because I've had 4 different last names. It's pretty crazy. I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4. So he was super crazy. I don't even like have to get into how crazy because physically abusive is enough. But he moved us to Odessa. But there was a lot that was going on with my oldest brother, Jordan, who I haven't spoken about yet because he was Patrick's child too.
Oh.
So he was enduring a lot of like physical abuse from Tara, and there was some stuff that it's not my story to tell. So
Mhm.
they pulled him out of the home too. CPS was called many times, but we finally moved back here a couple of years after she got away from Steven, her ex-husband, and we lived in Pasadena. So I remember Patrick started coming back around, and then I was introduced to my biological father. So that was the first time I had ever met him. I believe it was the first time he ever knew I was alive or existed at all. Just,
Oh.
hey, I did the thing with this lady, and she said, that's mine. So, like, I don't know if he ever saw me up until that point. I vividly remember us going to like a skating rink and he tripped me. I fall flat on my face. And I told Tara, and she said, that didn't happen. He didn't trip you. Well, that was the last time I saw him. So, yeah, that was dude number 1.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
How did he get back into your life after
I have
you
no
don't
idea.
know?
I
No
have no.
idea. No idea. Your mom was just
So,
like, "Hey, this is your actual dad."
yes. And the thing is like I'd had so many dads at that point that
You were just like,
I was like, oh, this is just another person, just another
"Gotcha."
dude. So, to say I had daddy issues at one point is, like, a severe understatement.
I hate
So
that
sh
too when people term
Yeah,
that. It's like,
it's just I think now through so much therapy and, honestly, I dug a lot into psychology and just, like, why a person does this. There's a lot in her past that she has that's traumatic,
right.
and I think that she desperately needs validation just
Mm,
from anyone and everyone, and most of the time it's men. So we had a lot of men that were introduced into our lives.
yeah.
So some of them fantastic dudes, some of them not so much. I think like the last that I remember between Steven and the next one was I was probably in 3rd grade. And that's whenever she got married to another dude. So his name was Justin. He was very sweet.
Okay.
He did what he could, but 5 years later, they split up and we moved again. So then we ended up in LaPorte, Texas. And then that's whenever we were getting closer to Robin and Patrick, my parents. So
Gotcha.
we started seeing them again, and by that point, Tara had put it in my head so much that they were terrible people and that they didn't want me, and there was just so much that she would do to manipulate a situation so that she always looked like the good guy, and she always
Right.
needed us to need her. So she meets this guy named Mark. Mark was in my life from, I wanna say, like, 7th grade up until 23, 24, and he was my dad. He was who I called dad, I called him pops, like, he was the person I went to whenever boys broke up with me or whenever I had a bad day at school, and
Yeah.
I think he was like a safe space for me. Sorry. And then they started fighting. As soon as he started realizing who she was, and I remember the last time that I saw them fight, someone had a knife. I don't remember who it was. I
Oh
believe it was her,
gosh.
but I was maybe in junior high, high school. I got in between them, and my little sibling Hunter called the police. So I was standing up to this grown woman trying to protect this grown man as a little girl. Like,
Yeah.
completely unacceptable. So that ended, but that didn't end until I was roughly 18. And so there was a lot of just mental and emotional abuse. So I had some like really rough bouts with just behavioral issues because I was being neglected,
Yeah.
which is really crazy thinking back on it because I was like, this little girl needed help and nobody was paying attention to her.
Right.
Um, so now we're at like high school graduation. She disappears. We have no idea where she's at. It's been like 3 or 4 days. It's around Christmas time. And I remember because I was working at a golf course as a bartender, and I get a call like, hey, we filed a missing persons for your mom. And I was like, I don't understand what's happening right now. And by that time, Patrick and Robin are not in my life because Tara has ostracized them,
Yeah.
made me think they're horrible people. So I didn't have anyone to call. I went home and I was like, I don't know what's happening. Like, is she dead? Is she not? Like, did she run away from us? What's happening? So she ended up coming home out of nowhere. And we were like, where were you? And she was like, that's none of her business. But she was gone for 3 days.
Who was taking care of you guys during those 3 days?
Yeah. So that I was 18 at that point. So I had a
Right.
full-time job. Like, I had a savings, I had my own car. I was doing all of the
Yeah.
things. But my younger sibling Hunter had gone to live back with Patrick at that point.
Okay.
I don't remember why, but I know that they made that choice to do that. Um, and then my sister, Vicky, she was already out in college, so it was just me.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So she comes back and she's like, Mark's been abusing me. I have pictures, I have proof of everything. He wasn't. I was there. He was not abusing her.
Your sister or your mom?
My mom, Tara. So he essentially had just told her, hey, I know you're cheating on me. You need to leave. And that was after she comes back and everything like that. And what her response was, I'm going to beat myself up and I'm going to try and make it like he's abusing me
Man.
because that has worked for her in the past with actually being abused by Steven. So there were times she had black eyes. There were times
Right.
that she like, was stuck in bed and things like that. So I think in her mind, she said, well, the police responded to this. I can make it happen again. I can make
Right.
it the same thing. So Mark finally got away from her. I actually helped get the divorce papers to her through his new girlfriend, which is so crazy and nothing I
Wow.
should have ever been a part of. So I was just like, I'm going to stay with him. And she was like, he's abusing me. He's going to hurt you. And I was like, he's not abusing you. I'm staying here.
Yeah.
And by that point, I had my plan. I wanted to go to Texas A&M. I wanted to get in. I wanted to make a name for myself because nobody in my bloodline had ever been to college or done anything remotely exemplary for themselves.
Yep.
So at that point, I was like, I will not end up drugged up in a ditch like the rest of my family. I got to get out of here. So the day that she left because he kicked her out, we just had a fight. And she was like, I want all of your money. I was like, no. And that was the first time I had ever held my ground and stood up for myself and told her no. And I did not give her a dime. She could not
Mhm.
handle money. She would spend it on drugs or alcohol or whatever she wanted to spend it on that didn't take care of her children. So there was a time during high school that we were homeless. And I
Mm.
don't know that my parents actually know this, but I lived in my car and I stayed on my friends' couches in high school. And I had all of my stuff packed up in my car and I would go to school and just pretend like nothing was happening. And that was fine. So then I think we ended up
I
moving
think,
in.
like, that's the thing that gets me about your situation and situations like that, like, and just people around us are, my girls are in high school, or my oldest is in high school right now. Just the thought of, like, there are kids they are interacting with every day that
Yeah.
had a situation, very probably similar situation to yours, and you just don't know it, right? You're still a kid and you're having to go to school and still do the thing. Adults, for goodness sake, can't even get through the day, but you have to go to school. And I don't know. I think, man, just the fact that there was something inside of you that was like, I'm gonna end this cycle. And
Yeah.
where did that come from? Where do you think that? Can
I
you remember a
honestly,
moment or anything? Or
I think so. All growing up, Tara's side of the family was just, without a better word, white trash. And
mm,
I didn't want to be a part of it. I have always wanted to be just like better. I
right?
didn't know what better looked like, but better. And I thought, if I don't find a way out of this, I'm never going to get out. I'm going to be just like them. I'm going to end up in Beaumont, Texas, and I'm going to be stuck there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing that. So there was, I know one specific time where she had either tried to commit suicide or pretended that she was trying to commit suicide. I believe I was maybe 17 years old because of, I can remember like the apartment that we lived in at that point, um, which was probably home number 52 of my life. So
Yeah.
I remember having to get a bobby pin and pick the lock to her door to see if I needed to call 911 to see if she was okay. And I think that's what it was. That was just like the breaking point for me. And at the time, I had this woman in my life who, she had like a Louis Vuitton and she drove a BMW and like had
Mm,
this way about herself that she just held herself so differently than the women that I knew. And I wanted to be like that. And now that I think about it, I don't want to be anything like that woman,
yeah.
but
But it's what you needed at the time.
there was a lot more going on behind closed doors. Yeah. But there's so much that just finally hit me. And I was like, I
Mhm.
can't keep doing this. Like, I have to get out of here. And at that point, I was ready to enlist in the Air Force because I didn't think I was going to get into college because I had skipped so much school because of my life.
Right.
And I said, you know what? No. And that's whenever Mark, Tara's ex-husband, had told me, like, you got to go to college. That's what you're meant for. Like, you're too smart to not go to college. So I enrolled in the community college round and I started taking out just like FAFSA. I was like, I'm not going to take out
Mhm,
any
mhm.
loans just yet. I'm going to let FAFSA help me out. FAFSA paid for like my first 2 years of school, which was
Nice.
incredible. And then I got into Texas A&M and she tried telling me that that was because of her. And
Wait,
that
what?
infuriated me. Yes.
How do you
At that
get
point, I was paying for my own school. I was paying every single one of my own bills. Like I was working
Wow.
3 jobs through college just to make this life happen for myself. And this woman had the freaking audacity to try and make it about herself. And I was like, you know
Mm,
what? No. So then there's a few more things that she tried to take credit for that I like, those things were just cherries on top for me. Like I did a
right.
bodybuilding show and I got a trophy and she said, this is my trophy. I'm taking it home. And I was like, I just suffered for 15
Yeah,
weeks.
I like how
Are
you
you
use the
kidding me?
word suffer.
And that's like, I got a burger in my mouth after she did everything. I'm like, oh, okay, I will kill you.
Yeah, I will kill you if
So,
you
yes,
give
that.
me this
And then
burger before we have this
I was like,
conversation.
okay, no. So at that point, I had started to realize, like, One, I wanted nothing to do with my bio dad because he had been reintroduced, when I was roughly 15,
Mm.
and they did, like, court-ordered visits, and he had looked at me dead in the eye and said, "You're not my daughter. You're not mine." And then the paternity test came back, and I'm very much his. And if you look at him, it's really hard to decline because
Do you
look
look
just
very similar? Is that where you get your dimples from?
I don't honestly, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I think that was just a lucky thing for me. Thank you so much. Yeah, so he had told me something, and I was right before I graduated college. He said, "You need to find a man to take care of you. You don't need to do this college stuff." And I think that's when my feminist self came in, and I was like, "Oh, I have to finish college now.
Oh,
I
now
have
I'm
to do
going to do exactly what you
Yes,
told me not to
I
do.
have to." So that was the
Man.
last time I talked to him, and I had, like, continued my relationship with Mark and continued talking to him, and then whenever I graduated college, it got kinda weird, and I'm still
Mm.
not really sure why. There's still a lot of speculation, but I graduated college, and the same day I got engaged to a boy that I had been dating for 9 months.
Well, I want to pause there
Yeah.
because the fact that all the hell you went through up until this point, and then you got yourself into a very notable, I don't care. I mean, I went to UT, everybody knows that.
Yes.
But I will say my three best friends in the world went to A&M. All my in-laws went to A&M. You went to A&M. It's an incredible university. And I just think take a moment to like give you applause
Thank
for
you.
that, Tana, because that, I mean, to even if that's where your story ended, holy buckets. Like
Yeah,
for you to have gone through all of that and just the emotional determination and mental determination to find the resources. And this wasn't like these day and time where you can literally Google anything and it's at your fingertips. Things are not as easy to find
right.
even 10 years ago, right? So gosh, I just wanted to take a pause and just say even up until that point, girl, like I don't even know what to, it's just so commendable. Um Such the amount of strength and even just an inspirational story in and of itself for anybody, male or female, that finds themselves in that place to say you don't have to be a product of your circumstance.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to that because that's kind of your ending final point. And I saw that and I was like, oh, I started tearing up like, yes, yes. Like that's what I want our audience to hear is that it's not rainbows and sunshines for everybody. Anyway, just want you to know
And,
how
I
awesome that
will say,
was.
people look at me and think everything has always been rainbows and sunshines, so I don't know, it's kind of validating to be able to say, "Hey, that's just not the case."
Yeah.
And, like, it's actually been pretty stormy around here, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
sorry. I just wanted
Nope,
to
that's okay.
pause and
Thank
be
you.
like, that
I
is
needed a little
huge.
breather.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
okay. So you graduate. What did you graduate with? What was your degree
I
in?
have a bachelor's in human resources development. I don't
What
necessarily use
possessed
that.
you to get that? Blech. That sounds like a horribly boring degree. I'm sorry.
There were 2 programs that I was like, "Okay, I'll be really good at this." Because at that point, I was managing an ice rink, so I was already, like, doing the things with HR and, like, trying
Wait,
to learn those things. Yes.
there's an ice rink in frickin' College Station, Texas.
Yes. Yes. That's where the Aggie hockey team plays, and it is, I wanna say, like, I met some of my best friends in that ice.
Wow. I didn't
So,
even know that A&M had a hockey team.
yes, it's a select team,
Oh,
but
but still. Oh
they
my
also,
gosh.
I mean, they play UT. It was a big game, big deal.
Wow.
So, yeah, I met some of my best friends there, and
Yeah.
they helped me understand that the relationship that I had gone into college with was not healthy, and I didn't I didn't realize that because I had never seen a healthy relationship in my life. I never knew what that was.
Right.
So I finally got out of that one. And then I started dating my ex 9 months before I graduated high school or college. I met him through my older sister. Her husband is in the Navy, and they were roommates with him because he was in the Navy. So
Oh, okay.
he lived in Hawaii on Pearl Harbor, well, outside of Pearl Harbor, but
Oh,
worked on
wow.
Pearl Harbor. And we dated long distance for 9 months. So I thought it was a good idea to say yes to this man whenever he proposed on my graduation day under the century tree, which is a very big deal in Aggie culture. You don't do that unless you're going to be together forever. So
Yeah.
that happened. And then my mom looked at me and said, "Do you want to get married in 10 days?" And I said, "Okay." Because in
Wait,
my
wait, wait,
mind,
wait, wait. What?
yeah, yes, so many
Why? What?
questions.
Yeah, like what? I try to empathize
It's
with
crazy. No, it's
protagonists,
crazy.
antagonists, and stories. Like what? Like,
This is the point of my life where I saw an out, and I don't wanna
mm,
say that's the only thing that that was, because in that moment, I was very much in love with this man,
sure, sure.
or I thought I was. I don't know what that looks like
You wouldn't
anymore.
have married him if you didn't think you were.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
so I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna do it anyways because that was our plan." Like, I just got engaged to him. The plan is to get married. I was like, "I'm gonna do it anyways," but I think my mom's idea was, "If you do it in 10 days, we'll all be able to be there, and if you wait, we're not."
Because everybody was around for your graduation.
Yes. So my mom,
Hey, at least they showed up for you.
yes, and
I
they
mean,
do that.
hey, I find a little silver lining.
The worst part about all of this
I
was it was
mean,
on Christmas Day.
oh,
Yes.
you got
So,
married on Christmas Day?
yes, I asked my family to give up their Christmas to watch me get married. That already is selfish. I don't know why I thought that was acceptable, but I and I'm not judging anyone who does that, but to me, that feels not okay. Uh,
As you look
everybody got
back
there.
on it in
Yes. Everybody got there.
retrospect, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and you're not perfect. Nobody's stories are
No.
perfect too. And
No.
in your defense, look at the example you had.
Yes.
Somebody who was completely selfish their entire life, if I can say that. I do not mean
Yes.
your mom.
You can say whatever you want.
Based on your biological mom, but yeah, I mean, given the circumstances, I mean, that's all you knew was you do
Yeah.
what you wanna do when you wanna do it.
Yep.
Screw everybody else.
Yeah.
N and
So,
I'm not judging you, I'm just
no,
saying.
I do. So it's
Okay.
fine. I do
You
it
can
enough
judge
for
yourself.
everyone. Yeah. So that day, my older sister, who I had thought was my rock, I thought she was my best friend. She was super mean to me, like to the point of making me cry.
Oh.
And this is something, it's been a huge theme for my entire life of like big events. You cannot have that day for yourself. Someone else has to take that credit. Someone else has to be a part of that. And like birthdays, I cried. My high school graduation, I cried. College graduation, I actually got that one to myself, but then my ex said, "Nope, we're not doing that." So, yeah, my wedding day, I was like sobbing because my sister was telling me that I was selfish because she was going to be doing my hair and I was going to be late. She was taking a nap while I was supposed to be getting ready for my wedding day. Yes,
And
there's
she
more.
called you selfish because you
Yes,
woke her up to say, "I need to get my hair done."
yes. So at that point, I
How
was like,
dare you ruin a nap?
how dare I? The consequences of her own actions. Come to find out she was pregnant. Doesn't fix anything, but
Yeah,
that's why she was sleeping. So I'll give
and
her that one.
probably pissy.
Yes, but she was not a very nice person to me that day. So
Yeah.
then I started seeing her in a different light, and I started comparing her a lot to Tara, my bio mom.
Yeah.
So there was a lot that happened that day. Whatever, we get married, we do the thing, and we leave the next day and move to Hawaii.
Wow.
Yes.
Just like that.
Just like that next day, and I'm not kidding, like, after our reception, which was at one of my mom's best friend's houses, she, like, had us all in her house and did it was all very kind of her. We left her house, and then my parents took us to the airport and dropped us at a hotel for that night, and then we woke up at 3 the next morning and flew to Hawaii with my dog.
Wow.
Yes, so I think I had taken all of my stuff down to 2 or 3 suitcases, got rid of everything that meant nothing to me, which by that point I had gotten very good at packing my things, that
Yeah.
it was just a necessity for my life. So I got rid of everything that didn't matter, and I packed all my crap into some bags, and I moved 9 billion hours away from my family.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Do
Mm,
you think like a part of you in that moment was this is a great escape? Like I'm just restarting, refresh,
yes.
renew, new place, new time. The only thing that's the constant is my dog. Okay, what kind of dog? I have to know.
He's a golden lab. I got him,
Oh,
I think it was 2015, so we're going up on 10 years with him.
no, goodness.
Um,
Oh,
that's one thing I've always had is I've always had a dog.
yeah.
So I went and I looked at Riley, and he walked out, and I said, "Just put him in the car."
Oh,
So he's been the constant for me. There's nothing else. I mean, like, besides my car, I've had him for the same amount of time that I've had my car. So I bought my car in college, and
yeah,
it
but
was
your
like my
car doesn't
first,
get excited when you get home.
no, my first
No.
adult purchase. And I was like, put him in there. What do I need to sign? I'll take him with me. So he has moved from Texas to Hawaii, from Hawaii to Michigan with me. And that's my boy.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So
Sweet
he's
Riley.
my best friend. I fought really hard for him to be my emotional support dog. I finally got them to sign all the paperwork, and my dad jokes that I'm his emotional support human because he's very anxious. It's been a treat to see him
Oh,
develop into this like house dog who was not abused, and because he was like I rescued him, so he had some of his own little problems. So now he's
yeah.
a the best boy you could imagine.
Two little peas in a pod.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Oh. Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
didn't mean to
Okay.
sidebar, but
That's
I was
okay.
like,
I
"Tell
didn't
me
think I would
about
get
your
emotional
dog."
about dog.
No, it's I mean, I get it. I get it. I understand.
Yeah. So we moved to Hawaii, and the primary income holder. I didn't have a job. I was living
Mhm.
on base, so I had to have like an ID to get into my home, essentially, like get into my
Yeah,
neighborhood. Um, so I was pretty much like just at his beck and call. That's what I did, is I would do all of our meal preps. I would wash all of our clothes. I was a stay-at-home wife. So he
yeah,
eventually like cleared all my debts, which I didn't have that much. It was like $1,200 in credit card debt.
right.
And then essentially said, here's a card. Don't use any of your own money. Like you don't have any more money. Transfer it all. Here's a credit card with his name on it. And that's what I had for pretty much like the duration of our marriage. I didn't have access to any of the funds. I didn't have like any
No
say in
access
where they
to
went,
bank accounts, anything. It was literally just the credit card.
just the credit card. And we ended up, he got discharged from the Navy. They moved us back to Michigan where his family was.
Okay, I was gonna ask how you got to Michigan, so that makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay.
Yep. We had sold his car. So we had one car, one form of transportation. There was essentially no way out, and I was trapped. And by that point, it had started to get like emotionally and psychologically abusive as well. Like not just the money, but like a lot of gaslighting and a lot of like tearing me
Oh,
down. I was just in this like deep depression that even Zoloft couldn't bring me out of. And I was like, you know what? I'm still dealing with Tara. Like I'm still dealing with all of this narcissism.
yes.
And then I married one, and I didn't realize it because I didn't have enough time to see it, or he was just really good at faking it. I wasn't allowed to speak up for myself because it would be, don't you see how crazy that is? Or don't you see how
Yeah,
crazy you are? There were a couple of times he'd be like, you're just like Tara. And that's like my deepest fear is to be her. Never want to be that. I remember there was one time I said something where I had called him out for being disrespectful or saying something inappropriate in front of his mom and his grandma. And he said, well, let's not pretend like you're not off of your meds right now. And both of them
oh,
gasped. And I just looked at him and I got up and I walked away. And neither of them ever said anything.
mm,
That kind of led me to be like, I don't want to be a part of this family. They're not sticking up for me. They're seeing how their son is treating me and like not saying that's a problem. So I was like, okay, I've got to find a job. And by this point, it was September 2019. So we moved back to Michigan. We're staying in his grandmother's house with her, with my dog. he came with us. So we're just staying in a spare bedroom. And every single day I'm applying for as many jobs as I could find. And by this point, I had started my online business. So I
Okay.
was training clients and I was doing
Well,
like virtual.
how did you get into that? Was that because obviously that's a part of, your story and the story you are
Know
now. Did
about
it, so
it.
well, and let's go back. Okay, what possessed you to want to do a figure competition? Let's start.
So it was a bikini.
Bikini. Okay, my
So
bad.
this was the point I was 20 years old.
Mm.
And I had met this guy on a cruise who was a bodybuilding coach. And I
When did
had
you
been
go on a cruise?
this when I was 20, I don't remember. So I did that. And Tara had taken me with her.
Right.
There's something wrong with this, but there's nothing I can do. She's my mom. And that has always been the sentiment. Like, it's so gross now that I say it out loud. So she had convinced me to like talk to this guy and like get in with him so he could coach me and all of this other stuff. Cause I had been lifting since I was like 14. I was a power lifter in high school. Like I was on the powerlifting team. So
Nice.
I had been doing all of this lifting and I had a good amount of muscle mass. And he was like, you could do one. Like, let's do the show that I'm doing. So he put me through a show. And then I was like, as every single bodybuilder ever has done, I stepped on stage. So now I can help people get fit.
Gotcha.
So I had started training people. It was probably 2018. I
Okay.
didn't have the certification.
Gotcha.
So since then, I had started working at my base and I had just been working through people and writing programming and doing all of this other stuff. And
Okay.
so I finally got certified when I was living in Hawaii. I was doing all of the things all through this like horrible depression because I was trying to
Right.
find my way out. So through all of this, I'm like still training clients and I was trying to build up my Instagram and all of that so that I could get more clients. And it started doing pretty decent. And then we got shut down for COVID.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to use this as an opportunity to like build up my business. I started doing really well with my online business just because I think I had already been doing it
Mhm.
and other coaches were just trying to step into that space. So I already had my platform. I already had all of the resources I need.
Yeah.
And all the while, there's just this like smoke cloud of unhappiness with a
Mhm.
lot of things in my life. So I started going to therapy. And it was mostly because my ex had said, you're crazy because of your bio mom. You need to seek a therapist. Like you need to get some help. And to this day, I still like applaud him for that because I know that his intention was not what it was
Yeah,
supposed to
the
be.
delivery was probably
Yeah. So there
so it
was,
sounds like he was unhinged in some aspect,
yes.
but it sounds like at some point, like, he cared
Yeah.
about
And I
you, just
can't say
but
that he
just
didn't.
terrible at telling you
Right.
how.
Right. Yeah. So I think that he was not equipped to be in a relationship that was healthy either. And
Right, right.
there was a lot of things going on. I was having panic attacks like 3 to 4 times a week to the point of like I cannot breathe panic attacks. So I got into therapy and I started to just like work through some of my childhood trauma. So my therapist gave me this book and it is called You're Not Crazy, It's Your Mother. So I read that. And as I'm reading through it, I'm like highlighting and just going through. And then I started realizing a lot of that was my sister too. So
Wow.
my mom and my sister were my biggest bullies. And then I was like, I thought these were my biggest advocates. These are the people who are supposed to love me the most.
Right.
I still have the book where I have their names written in by things that they would do to me. It was like 2 days before my birthday. Um, Tara had called me, and it was to the point where I was sitting at my kitchen table and I said, I can't do this anymore. Can't do this anymore. You're going to put me in the hospital. Because at that point, I had started developing chronic health problems. I
Mhm.
started getting like autoimmune diseases. So I think by this point, I had 3 autoimmune diseases that were vastly uncontrolled. I was not well. I was malnourished again. I was having these severe panic attacks. I was not able to sleep. Everything was crazy. So I was like, you're going to put me in the hospital. Like, I can't do this anymore. So I hung up on her. She called me back 5 times and I didn't answer any of them. And that's the last time I spoke to her.
Oh, wow.
I started getting back into reading And my whole life, I had been taught not to read, essentially. And it was never the words of you shouldn't be reading. It was, why are you not being a part of the family? Why are you like wanting to be somewhere else? Why do you not want to hang out with us and all these other things? And
Oh,
looking back,
wow.
that was my escape. Like I was
Because y'all are
reading to escape.
psycho.
Yes, exactly. I was
Forgive
reading to
me,
escape.
but I want to
Yes,
escape because you guys are freaking insane.
yes. So then I started getting back into reading and I was like, this is why I did this. This is so fun. Well, then my ex started doing the same thing. If I would pick up a book, he would get irritated with me because I will say, like, when I read. It's like it's a problem. I can't put the book down. Now I've made it to where I can actually like pay attention to my surroundings. I'm not
Mhm.
associating into the book, but he would get very upset too. And he would essentially say that I wasn't spending time with him and that he never like got my attention. And mind you, this is during COVID. We're stuck in the house together
Yeah.
for
It's
seven.
like you are the only
Yes.
attention.
Yes. That's
I
all I
know.
have. Like I have no attention for anyone else.
Oh my
But
gosh.
then that's when I started getting more attention on social media. So I think there was some like
Jealousy.
insecurities and jealousy on his side.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's not my problem.
Right.
Um, so then I got a DM. I like flash forward to 2021. I got a DM from someone named Benjamin Pawson. And he had a job for me. And Ben had been searching on just like geotags on Instagram and found me,
Mhm.
as he does. And he reached out and he was like, "Hey, I think you could be something really big here." And I was like, I don't believe that. And at that point, I started questioning myself. And I was like, have I
Mm.
been underselling myself? Like, what am I doing here? But then I started getting a little bit of like, what's it called whenever you think you shouldn't be somewhere, but you're supposed to be?
Imposter syndrome?
Yes. So I started getting some imposter syndrome. And I was like, you know what? If this dude, who he is the smartest person I know, like, hands down, don't tell him anyone.
He's smug enough that he knows. And Ben, I'm
He
gonna say
knows.
that to you because you know.
So yes, love you. He started just like building up my confidence and like showing me things that I couldn't see about myself. All the while, my ex-husband is tearing those things down and telling me that I don't deserve that. And like,
Right.
I was like, you know what? I don't believe you anymore. Because then I ended up doing very well at Lifetime.
Yeah.
And during this whole time, Ben and I are having one-on-ones. He's succession coaching me for a higher up position because he wants to see me do better. And I can like specifically remember during our one-on-ones, I would come in and just like, I suck. I'm the worst. I can't move anything. Like the needles aren't moving. My business is falling apart. And at this point, I was a 10K trainer. My business was not falling apart.
Yeah.
I was doing very well. And he was like, all right, I want you to tell me 3 things that you did well this month. And it was the hardest thing I ever had to do because I'd never looked at myself and said, wow, you're doing good at this. Or like,
Yeah.
I was always my biggest critic. So he had asked me one time, we did our one-on-one outside by the pool one day. And he's like, are you insecure? And I just looked at him and I was like, who asks that?
Yeah.
Like,
How dare you? Yeah.
what do you mean? I was like, no, I'm not insecure. And he said, yes, you are. And I just looked at him and I was like, I, I don't know what that means. And then he said, Tana, you are not her. And I knew he was talking about Tara because he was my boss. Like he knew what was going on in my life. And by that point, we had become really good friends. And
Mhm.
I started telling him about the stuff that my husband was saying to me. And I remember one meeting, he would be like, hey, how's Cody? And I was like, let's not talk about him. And he said, okay, how's Riley? So then we just started talking about my dog. And it was just like this breath of fresh air of a human. Um, and he still is. But I ended up reading this book And it just actually became a movie. It's called It Ends With Us.
Mm,
And it is essentially this book about abuse that's not yet a physically abuse, but it's gonna get there, and like breaking the cycle. And I know that it's not real, like it's not based on a true
right.
story, but I started seeing myself in that. And I realized like my marriage was unhealthy. I wasn't safe in it. And it had gotten to the point where I was like sending my friends my location because just in case something happened, because this man was
Mm,
scary. Like he was basically a step down from a Navy SEAL, and he would get aggressive, but he would never hit me. So I was like, it's not abuse. Like I've seen abuse. I've physically witnessed it.
yeah.
I've been a part of that. Like I've been abused physically. And there was just something that snapped in me. I was like, if I don't get out of this, I'm going to die. Like, and that might be dramatic. And I
Wow.
like, that's just how I felt. So there was one day I I guess I had been just, like, giving it away that I was unhappy, and he said, "Are you happy?" And I said, "No, I don't wanna do this anymore. I don't wanna fix it. I don't wanna go to therapy. I want out." And by that point, I had opened up my own bank account, and I had started putting money away to it that he didn't know about. And because at that point, I was the only person bringing in money outside of, like, his military stuff from school. So I was
Gotcha.
the primary breadwinner, but I wasn't able to spend my own money.
Yeah.
I would go to, like, Meijer, the grocery store that we go to around here,
Mhm.
and whenever I would check out, I would get, like, Visa gift cards, just 20, 30 bucks every
Yeah.
once in a while so that I knew that I had something that he couldn't have. Um, and it was I think the night that he asked if I was unhappy, I said, "I'm not happy," and I had one of my friends come over while he packed and, like, had someone come and pick him up. It was probably 2 or 3 weeks later. He comes back and he's like, "I wanna talk about this. I wanna do therapy. I wanna fix this." And I was like, "No." Like, of
You
all
were
of these
already
things
done at that
yes,
point.
of all of
Yeah.
these things, I've been done. At that point, I had been done for 6 months. I just hadn't
Yeah.
expressed that for myself yet. And I was like, "These are the things that I've brought to your attention multiple times. Like, you're not fixing them. You're still making me feel bad about myself. You're still trying to tear me down." And by that point, he was like at my job telling members that I wasn't credible. He was, like, trying to discredit me. So I was like, "I'm done. Like, I don't want
Done.
part of this anymore." And then I was like, "Okay, I need you to file for divorce. Like, you have all the money, you do it." And it was a couple months later, and I find out that he never filed. He had
Oh,
never
wow.
even started the process, but he was telling me that he had. So I finally got a divorce attorney, and I told them that I had been through all of this, and then that's when Ben and I started dating. I wasn't even divorced yet. So I got an attorney, process started happening, and then he had finally gotten all of his crap out one day and forced me to go and take him to get the U-Haul, and I was late to work, and I was so fed up that I was like, "I can't do this anymore." So he got all of his crap and left me with the cleanup of the house and, like, everything that you have to do when you move out. I had to
Yeah.
take care of all of that myself, which was just the theme for our relationship of, like, I did everything and he did nothing besides berate me. So, the divorce was finally finalized in 2022, I believe, and by that point, Ben and I had been dating for 6 months and living together already, and yeah, I think there was still a lot of therapy that was happening, but I had kept waiting for the other shoe to drop with Ben.
Yeah.
And I was like, "I don't really understand this. Like, why am I doing this?" So I talked to my therapist, and she's like, "That's because you've never been in a healthy relationship, and you're
Yeah.
waiting for this to no longer be healthy." She's like, "But it's healthy, and, like, this is a safe relationship based on what you're telling me and all of these things." And I kept trying to find something bad to say about him, but
Yeah.
I couldn't. And she's like, "You don't think that that's a sign?" I was like,
Like that feeling of this is too good to be true.
"Yes, yes."
Something's going on.
Mhm.
I'm waiting for the facade to drop
Yeah,
or whatever.
there was no facade.
Yeah.
There was none. So at that point, I had found out that my sister had still been hanging out with my abusive ex. So I through my divorce, I had no one, and my parents weren't there for me, And I hate to say that, but that's just the truth. My parents weren't there for me. They essentially told me I needed to figure it out and I needed to work it out because you don't get divorced in this family. And I
And
think
this is Patrick
and Robin, my mom, yeah. And I understand where they were coming from because they had both been divorced before.
yeah.
So I totally understand now. The intention was not to harm me. It was more of,
Yeah,
hey,
try to work it
marriage is
out.
hard.
Try to yeah.
Yes, marriage is hard. Like, this is something that you have to get through. And I specifically remember my mom telling me, you would never believe the things that your dad has done to me in 20 years. And I said, Mom, that sounds like a you problem. If I were your
Wow.
friend, I would have told you to divorce him. And sorry, Dad, that's just the truth. But like, since then, they have gone through so much therapy and
Right.
they're different humans. So kudos to them for working on that and fixing that and apologizing and taking ownership. But it is still a part of my story. That's something that still to this day, like,
It's
I
hurt.
had
It
no one.
hurts. Yeah,
Yeah.
no one was there for you, and that's
Yeah.
hurtful.
So I had built this little life for myself in Michigan and I had very few friends, but I had some good ones and they helped me through and they were there for me. Yeah, the divorce was disgusting. Like, there was so much that I was like, "Take it all. I don't care. I want you out of my life. Don't speak to me." And he did. He took everything down to my ring. So, great. I got to keep my car and my dog, and that was it.
Good for you.
So, yeah, I found out that my sister was hanging out with him still after she had essentially told me, "I don't wanna hear about it. His story is different. You're lying." She essentially told me there was no abuse and that I was just the little brat sister that she had always knew I was, and that I was selfish and everything is always about me. And I finally realized, like, she's also not in my corner.
Right.
And I vehemently agree with the fact of, like, if you do not choose sides between a victim and an abuser, you're choosing the side of the abuser every day, all day.
Yeah.
So I stopped talking to her too. And I lost my best friend. I lost my maid of honor. I lost everyone. So my circle got really small after the divorce, and it was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me just because of the fact that, like, I had a lot of snakes in my garden and I didn't know. And it's like when you smell a copperhead, you smell some cucumbers, you know,
Right.
but you can't find it yet. And that's kind of what I was going through for pretty much like up until I was 25, 26 years old. And then I had developed celiac disease. So I was like having a hard time even advocating for myself with food. Like, I don't know if you know, but if you ingest gluten and you have celiac disease, you can end up with a lot of different issues like cancer or infertility or things that can drastically change
Mhm.
your entire life. And I didn't see those things as more important than standing up for myself. Like, I was like, oh, well, it's an inconvenience to you, so it's fine. And then I started dating Ben, and he taught me how to advocate for myself with food. And then I think it started like trickling into this, my whole being. I was finally, finally advocating for myself and being the person I wanted to be. And like, I wasn't constantly deflecting with bitchiness. Honestly, there's no other word of explaining it. Like, I was just so mean because I had this entire lifetime of people being mean to me.
Yeah.
So I would just not speak to people because I was deathly afraid of like being backstabbed essentially. And then I finally just something clicked in me that not everybody is out to get me, which
Yeah.
is crazy because my entire life I felt like that.
When you've had to be on your guard your entire life. I mean, every person that should have been there or in your corner betrayed you at some
Yeah,
point, you start to, I mean, I'm no therapist. Humans, you build a wall and you vault everybody out because that's
yeah,
easier. And sometimes that yeah, that comes across as being a total bitch. Why? Because I'm
yeah,
not gonna let anybody in and hurt me anymore,
yeah,
ever again.
yeah. And
So
I
if
mean,
I
there was a
repel you, goodbye.
oh
That's
well,
fine. Oh
yeah,
well, at least you didn't
yeah,
hurt me.
yes. And now I have taken a completely different approach of like everyone is human until they hurt me, and then when they hurt me, they don't exist. they can't they can't hurt me continually. I'm not gonna allow that to keep happening.
Yeah.
Um, so now it's to the point where it's almost like I've allowed myself to just be a human, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
But through all of this, I mean, I've learned so much. I've
What are
learned a lot.
share with us, what are the things you've learned through this?
So the phenomenon hurt people.
Mm,
I think that's crap. I just really do. It does happen in the moment. And like I said, like as a hurt person, I've hurt a lot of people and that's not okay. But I could have chosen to be better. I could have chosen to be different. And I think a lot of that stemmed from not knowing what different or better looked like until
right.
I got to therapy, but also just like nothing is really all that about you. Other people's treatment of you, the way people respond to you, and most of the time it has nothing to do with you and it's all their insecurities and everything that comes with their trauma and their past
Mhm.
and what that might look like. And I think the biggest thing is just like it's all everybody else's problem. And they're going to put it out there and they're going to project onto people. And that's okay. You can do that, but I don't have to accept it.
Yeah.
You could be a bad person, but I don't have to accept it. So now it's to the point where I would say I overcompensate a little bit whenever it comes to like standing up for people in rooms that they're not in, or I don't know, just making sure that everybody has an advocate because I didn't have that. And
Yeah.
like now I do. I've built that community for myself and like my parents are so much better now and I now my in-laws are the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. I don't think that anybody deserves to be in your life. If they treat you badly, they don't have to be there. You
Yes.
can choose differently and you can
Yep.
make a difference without them.
Yeah, there's no obligation, blood related or not, to
Right.
hold a place for somebody if that place is damaging to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's empowering to know that you have, I think what I hear from you is you have more control over your life than I think a lot of humans give ourselves credit for. Now, granted, when we're young, there's, circumstances that we can't remove ourselves from.
Right.
But I think what your story shows is once you get to a point where you realize I have control, I can take control, and I am not obligated to do anything for
Mm-mm.
anyone in this life except for myself.
Yeah,
And
and I think
that's
that
not
actually gets
selfish
me
to
in trouble.
say,
It does get me in trouble just because I have a hard time finding that fine line, especially in professionalism,
right?
um, of what is right and what's wrong and what we should keep our mouths shut for and what we shouldn't,
Right.
and I've never been the girl to, like, not have an opinion. I have an opinion on every single thing ever, and unfortunately, whenever my opinions are strong, I do share them.
Yeah.
So that does get me in
I can
trouble a lot.
relate. Guilty.
But
Probably
I also
I've
think,
probably
like
lost a lot over the years doing that, and
yeah,
especially in job situations,
yeah.
but at the
I
end of
just
the
feel like
day,
at what point do you speak up for what's right? Like, and if nobody opens their mouth, then we just take everything for what that is, and
yep,
I just don't agree with that. I never have been, like, just okay with doing something just because that's the way it's always been, or because they're your family, or because of this, like, I don't believe in that. I think it's
yep,
crap. Um, and that like the control part of it, I think has been a really big portion of just like my growth as an adult and as a woman.
mhm,
There's some other abuse that I have not talked about yet that it has shaped me into who I am. I wouldn't be who I am if any of it didn't happen. So it's not like I'm thankful it happened, but if I had the chance to change it, I wouldn't just
yep,
because what's the point? Then I would be a different person, then I wouldn't have met my husband, then there's so many other things that just like the trickle waterfall effect, like I'm not sorry for any of it, and I think it's because I worked through most of it, but, um, yeah, so, like, the control of the aspect of, one, like, being adopted at 21, I think
yeah, you
gave
didn't
me
talk
some
about that.
freedom. I forgot about it.
Yeah, that's
Sorry, dad.
okay.
Um,
So
yeah,
yeah, your mom and dad eventually adopted you. Yeah,
so it was
how did that
actually my dad.
Okay.
Yeah, so Tara was still in the picture at this point, and I had just gotten accepted into an internship program that was required to graduate college. So, like, I had
Okay.
this, and I had to do it in Houston because it was the only place that I could find one, or at least one that I could find that was paid. I was offered, I think, 7 unpaid internships, but how do you
Needed
live on
money. Yeah.
so, I actually had one of the interviewees ask me or interviewers ask me why my parents couldn't pay my bills, and I was like, "I'm not that privileged. I'm
Oh
sorry,
my
but
gosh.
got
Okay.
this."
Sidebar, just a quick, and I know this isn't about me, but for the love of Pete, institutions, a message to them, just because I'm a white girl who looks like I maybe came
That
from the
part.
middle upper class
Yes.
does not mean I can afford or have a great
Right.
relationship with my parents.
Yes.
I in my counselor at University of Texas, I remember going in there in tears. They were telling me I did not qualify
Yep.
for a particular grant or scholarship, something I was looking for. And I said, why? And they said, well, your parents make too much. And I said, no, no,
My
my
parents don't
dad
pay.
does. And I do not speak to him.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, I need a note or a letter. I go,
From
okay.
who? The person I don't talk to?
Yes. Yes.
That's
I go, so let
insane.
me get this straight and let me speak to you how rationally ridiculous this
That's so
sounds.
crazy.
You want me to get my father, who I don't speak to write a letter to tell you that he doesn't speak to me.
Yeah,
So
good.
I didn't qualify. I had to like get all these private loans to finish paying out college
Yep.
because my parents, who did not support me through college, made too much money. Effing ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, just had to
Yes.
say I completely understand that and it is
Preach it from the
frustrating.
mountaintops because I I firmly believe we don't offer enough, like, true assistance for college or just, like, furthering your life experience for
Yes.
people who are poverty.
Yes.
And they're like, I don't like to qualify myself as poverty, but when I look at it, I was. There were nights I didn't have
Yes.
dinner, like, there were nights I didn't know where my parent was because they were doing drugs everywhere and, like, they were doing God knows what else. So, yes, we need to advocate for more people to have more access to help.
Or it's like
Just yeah.
college, people just shut your mouth and stop judging everybody by
Yes.
just because they look like they have their shit together does
Mhm.
not mean they have a perfect life.
Yes. Yeah. So,
Anyway, so my
I
heart
think
goes out
that's
to you and that
the
I know that
biggest
sounds
part.
weird, but I'm like,
No,
I
it's
just
horrible, and
yeah.
it's I think that's been, a theme in my life is just the way that I look is always what people judge me off of, and it's always like, "Well, this white girl, she's obviously really privileged, she comes from money,"
She's
and I'm like,
beautiful and she's got this smoking awesome body.
"Thank you.
You do.
Wow."
And
Feels
yeah,
deep
this
for
this
that, but thank you.
permeating smile, but yeah, I think that just honestly goes to why I'm doing this podcast is stop thinking and I mean, like, I don't care what color your skin is, I don't care what background, like, stop just looking at people
Or
and
judging
assuming
people.
you know their story.
Yeah,
You don't. You
yeah,
don't. You have
and, like,
no idea.
would look at me and say, "This girl is, like, broken and taped back together," and, like, that's just the case of what it is. I mean, now I've got nice, expensive glue holding me together, so that's good. And you can't really see the cracks anymore, but sometimes you can.
And be proud of that.
Yeah.
That's
Yes,
okay.
I
That's
will,
okay to
absolutely.
say,
Yeah.
I do
It
have
was like
my
Elmer's
stuff
glue and
together.
Scotch tape at first, but now we're doing the E6000 stuff. It's a
Hey,
big deal.
ooh, yes, a
Big
big deal.
deal. Yeah, so the adoption. So
Sorry, go ahead.
I got adopted on March 7th on my sister's birthday, and both of us were adopted by my dad. Um,
How did that
my mom
conversation come about though? Like
so
what discussion?
I think it had always been a discussion because he was my dad and that like he was there the day I was born and he went through legal action, like went through dealing with his own abuser, Tara. Like Tara abused him too, like just to be a part of our lives. And I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but I think they did it for my birthday because my birthday's in April. I think it was like a birthday present for that year. They filled out all of the paperwork. They did everything for me because I was in college and stressed and freaking out.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, do you want him to be legally your dad? And immediately said yes. I was like, I don't want this other man on my birth certificate. Like, I don't want any of this. And by that point, I had already had two dudes and an empty slot on a birth certificate. So I've had all of this happen. And I was like, I've been a part of this family on and off, albeit for my entire life. I want it
Yeah.
to be solid. So my mom, Robin, didn't want to be the person to push Tara out of my life. She always wanted to give me that choice.
Right. What a good
So
person.
she's literally a saint. Like, we all have our drawbacks, but the woman
Sure.
adopted 8 children basically into her life that were not hers and all of the trauma that came with it. So hats off to her for figuring that out. A better woman than I would have been.
Oh,
So she essentially said, "You are my daughter." And I've always called her, up until the point where I cut Tara off, I always called her my bonus mom because
mm,
stepmom just didn't feel right. And like, I don't call any of my siblings my step siblings or half siblings or anything like that. So I don't do the step or half or whatever.
I love that.
She finally, like, once I cut Tara off, I started calling her mom strictly. Like, nobody else was my mom. Nobody else gets that title. She messaged me a couple of months ago and said that she wanted to adopt me. So I get to do that process. I'm actually signing some paperwork today to get it more
Awesome.
taken care of. But yeah, so finally, after 29 years, I will have my mom on my birth certificate.
That's awesome, Tana.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
But it's been such a ride of, like, learning my parents' past with my abuser and learning
Yeah.
that through all of this, they were abused too. And it never occurred to me that they were putting up with that and, like, putting themselves in unsafe positions for me,
Yeah.
which is crazy. You see it on TV all the time, but you don't ever think, like, that's what's happening in the
Yep.
background. They were so good about, like, never speaking ill of her in front of us or, like, not really challenging her because they knew something in us would, like, pull
See
to
the
her.
truth.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like, they saw that it was coming eventually, and there was one conversation my mom had with me that was like, "You don't have to be a part of that," and I think that was just like, "Okay, I understand," and she had told me, "Your reputation is what other people think of you, and your character is what you are. Don't ever stray from that." So I finally realized, like, I don't have to be the character that I was made to be. I don't have to be the person who was mean and judgmental and who couldn't hold a healthy relationship and who couldn't pay their bills or anything like that. So there's a lot
Yeah.
I held dear to being after that conversation just because I knew I wanted to be different and I knew I wanted to be better than what I was. And like, the fact that I even made it up until this point without a needle in my arm laying in the side of the street, like, that's
Yeah.
insane. So
Yes.
I had I don't know, I finally was like, "I'm not a part of this. This is not who I am, and I don't have to be." So now I get to be myself.
That's awesome, Tana. I think your story is so inspiring. Not just that you didn't allow your circumstance to define you. You didn't allow that circumstance to hold you back. You rose above it. And I guess, you know, if people that are listening to this or watching this and have a similar circumstance, what advice even just sounds kind of cheapened because it's like, well, you got a whole nother podcast on that. But I'm not trying
Yeah.
to ask you to be their therapist because so many people just use that as a crutch or as an excuse or just say, well, I didn't have it as good as you did or so and so did. So like what would you say to them to just like kick them in the butt and Tana style and say what?
So, like, first and foremost, don't be afraid of therapy. There's no shame in therapy. There's no shame in, like, mental illness, drugs. There's no shame in any of that because you're gonna choose to be better, and that's the biggest thing is, like, no matter what card you're dealt or what hand you're dealt, you might have the crappiest card on the planet, but you get to choose what to do with it. You can
Mhm.
fold and you can continue the cycle. You can continue being what you were made to be, or you can choose to be different and you can choose to be better. And that might suck. Like, embrace the suck. I know that's so cheesy to say, but live in it, be in it, and feel all the feelings so that you don't have to continue that cycle of pain and abuse and trauma with whoever else is in your life, whether that be like your children or your best friends or your partner. They don't deserve that. They don't deserve to go through what you went through. So you have to make the choice to be better. You have to be the person to stop the cycle because who's going to if you don't?
Well, I'm going to leave it right there. Tana, thank you so much for your time and thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it was difficult. My hope for this and is that somebody listening today can be inspired by your story to either get out of a situation they're in or take action that they've been waiting on. And I just thank you for sharing that because you truly embodied a life unstifled. And it's not as easy, right, as an
No.
hour long podcast to get
Right.
through. But I know it wasn't easy for you to share this story, but I appreciate it. I really, really do. And hopefully somebody can be inspired and motivated because of it.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much for being on.